So we actually enrolled into that program and started selling mobile phones. उसका उनका एक ऑफर था 501 रुपए का ऑफर. Monsoon offer 501. Like it was phenomenal. And there we actually, all three engineers, though electronics make chemical, phones बेच रहे हैं after like engineering, right? Other insight was there was a competitor which got acquired by Google AdMob, which was doing 300 million ad impressions a month from India. So we looked at the report and we saw that there is already this thing. So what we are looking at in the future is actually happening right now in front of us, right? Every year, a decision to actually start on your own, right, will become tougher and tougher. The opportunity cost becomes so large. And the second big thing is that all decisions of starting your own company will always be irrational.
You must be thinking another pre-roll? Wait, let me just skip it. With Altuni, there are some boring things which you can avoid, like the long wait for promotions or increments, or the numerous interviews before you land your dream job. At Altuni, we make sure that you're future ready and skilled to be in the top 0.5% class. Click on the link in the description now.
Again, it's a repeated query, a repeated request that we get, in the community. कि यार आप सिर्फ बड़े बी स्कूल के लोगों को बुलाते हो, with big brands, etc. Get somebody who's not from an IIM or not from whatever the top 10 schools, etc. in the country. And we want to see success stories from there as well and learn from their career journeys as well. So we have somebody from there. Maybe a lot of you are already users of the product as well. So I don't want to, there is a lot to know from him, learn from him. So let's start that journey immediately. We have the founder of ET Money here with us. Can I request you to join us on stage? Mukesh Kalra. So Mukesh, I was going through your profile and you've done your undergrad and postgrad from Bombay.
Yeah.
But आपका नाम सुन के ऐसा लगता है कि आप हमेशा यहीं के हो. So what was your early life like, and where are you originally from? Where's your family originally from, and what's that story?
So quickly, I come from a very small town of Bhusawal. I don't know how many people know Bhusawal. It's a very small town in Maharashtra. My father was in an ordnance factory which comes under defense. So we used to keep on kind of going to a lot of different cities because deputations is there.
Bhusawal is a junction, right?
It's one of the largest junction in India and famous for railways and everything. So yeah, so I come from a very small town, and then after my after school, I came to Bombay, did engineering from TSEC,
Thadomal
Shahani Engineering College in Bombay, and then followed it up with an MBA. After I came from Bhusawal to Bombay, and this TSEC as a college is actually right in the middle of some of the hottest colleges around. So it's like one of the most exciting place for youngsters, close to Linking Road,
close to all the superstar homes. Salman Khan, Shah Rukh Khan, सब आपके 2 kilometer के radius में.
So the first 6 months in college, frankly speaking, I didn't speak much because everybody used to talk in English, and my English was pathetic. Coming from a very small town, right? So ज़्यादा बात ही नहीं करते थे हम लोग. And a lot of people were there from outside small towns. So that engineering journey was phenomenal. Made a lot of friends.
फिर आपने कुछ किया engineering के time पे with your initial shyness? Did you participate in extracurriculars? Did you do any events in college, or did you just study, or did you just enjoy the Bombay life? What did you do?
Yeah. It's a mix of everything in that sense. The third part is more important, and that's what we ensured. So the thing is that it was a private hostel first, and after 3 years of engineering, I decided we need to do something different. It happens with a lot of engineers, I'm sure. From a college perspective, I would term myself more like a visiting student. There were visiting faculties, but visiting student, and we were a bunch of crazy guys out there. And hostel life shaped a lot of my future life in that sense. So big inflection points there. And fourth year of engineering is where we decided we are not going to do engineering. And couldn't kind of figure out a way to live with balancing equations. I was in chemical actually. And there is a story behind that as well. I had very good grades and very good marks during the HSC thing. And I had an option to take comm science and electronics, but I went to a IIT professor before the consultation happens, right? And this guy actually told me that your father is retiring very soon. You need to be in a green field, stream, which never dies, right? So it is mechanical, electrical, and chemical. And I had come from Bhusawal, how much an IIT professor is like a, big guy out there.
So आपने com science नहीं लिया?
I was the first guy on the stage, and the guy who told me that com science is available, बोला मुझे com science नहीं चाहिए. The guy actually said, you take a half an hour break, come back, सबसे बात करके आ जा. I was getting electronics also. And then I came back after half an hour. I was completely brainwashed by this IIT guy, right? Came back and said, कि मुझे chemical ही चाहिए. I was the first guy. And after that, I think 100 people went in, not taking chemical. But essentially, the larger point is that the journeys are such that they become very serendipitous, right? Like things one after the other shape your, mindset and also your path. Fourth year decided not to balance equations anymore for chemistry equations of them. Decided that we'll build a business. Fourth year itself.
तब से startup का
तब से engineering we have been. So I and Santosh, my co-founder, we have been together since engineering days. We met in the hostel. So a lot of stories out there we can keep on continuing, but essentially that's where we decided that we'll build a business. And we come from Sindhi background, so we know a lot of people in our community actually look down upon doing a private service. क्या कर रहे थे यार? People used to. So I used to go to my family gathering, and people used to say, क्या कर रहे थे यार? क्या? Just start your business, man. So they were actually kind of very pushy in terms of doing on our own. So that's where the journey started. The first startup experience was right out of college. There was this, I don't know how many people know, but Dhirubhai Ambani Entrepreneur Program was there. So before Jio launched now, there was one more attempt by Reliance Group, right?
The Infocomm times.
Reliance Infocomm times. And then they had actually launched a Dhirubhai Ambani Entrepreneur Program, where it was like a glorified way for hiring sellers of mobile phones. We were like, हमको लगा कि यार entrepreneur program है, चले जाते हैं.
Sir, मैं भी था उसका part. In college, I used to go with forms and get people to sign up for the DAPO program.
Dhirubhai Ambani Entrepreneur. So we actually enrolled into that program and started selling mobile phones. उसका उनका एक ऑफर था 501 रुपए का ऑफर. Monsoon offer 501. Like it was phenomenal. And there we actually, all three engineers, though electronics make chemical, phones बेच रहे हैं after like engineering, right? So it was funny. But again, because it was our first startup, probably our first startup which turned a profit. And so we started selling phones to companies. Individual channel लेंगे बहुत time ले जाएगा to actually kind of make it something. So we went to, we used to actually sell phones, big orders to companies. That was our first understanding of how segmentation works, right? Not knowing that we are doing segmentation at that time, right? So it was phenomenal journey. Then we actually said that what next is to really understand how businesses are built. So we'll get into MBA. MBA may be unfortunately visiting students again. So we used to actually spend more time with I think 2 companies.
So where did you go for an MBA? Because यहाँ पे बहुत सारी MBA जनता है, तो MBA की journey बताओ. Did you take which entrance exams did you take, or were you like it doesn't matter कौन से MBA school जा रहे, we just want to finish with an MBA?
Yeah, we actually, more it was, geared towards, there were options like SP Gen and then XLRI and certain options, but not very gung-ho about which college to go to, just based on convenience, frankly speaking. So Bandra ki aadat thi hame, so we just went into Bandra College. Chetana is the Institute of Management. That's where we did MBA. And MBA, I think most of the time we spent was in Shoppers Stop. And a lot of time in Rediff. So
मतलब साइबर कैफे में
नहीं so we were doing actually projects for Shoppers Stop while we were at an MBA. So one was Shoppers Stop and one was Rediff के साथ हमने project किया था, and then that actually made us again visiting students to our MBA college as well, so hardly being in. But again the whole idea was that are we learning, right? And a lot of times, because I think you guys are looking at MBA.
So, but your co-founder Santosh also joined you for MBA also.
Yeah.
तो उसने भी वहीं पे admission लिया.
And it's a matter of convenience. It's not like we are actually giving it such a huge thought, but we just wanted to understand how to build a business.
No, but I'm sure like you must have had to take a MHCET and you would have had to get some ranks to get admission, no? Wherever it is. So how did you synchronize that के दोनों को enough marks आएंगे to get into Chetana?
नहीं, we had options.
But आपने तो
दोनों का options था. I had option in SP Jain, I think, but another thing that we had done was we had actually paid up in Chetana. और वहाँ पे क्या हो गया था कि 1 लाख हमने दे दिया था. और if we had actually switched to SP Jain, then तो फिर 1 लाख चला जाता. और वो अभी हम अपना बिजनेस चला के आए, हमको पता चला पैसा कमाना बहुत मुश्किल है. And so the whole idea was that so it was not very deliberate, frankly speaking, right? Today there is more information, there is more ways,
Yeah, I mean,
you have people like Ankit helping you guys out. So
yeah, I mean, people will crucify you, right? Like if you did something like this, you're getting SP Jain and you said के नहीं convenient है Chetana जाना, Bandra में है तो मैं Chetana. I mean, it sounds almost blasphemous, but I understand. It was a different time. I understand, and but it's worked out anyway brilliantly for you. So
yeah, so the whole idea that while it sounds very fancy and all that, is that you have partners, you have independence, you can actually take a lot of shots at this age, right? And let that exploration be at the heart than being overly deliberate about analysis paralysis में we could see our friends going bonkers, right? कि नहीं यार ये कर लेते हैं, वो कर लेते हैं, वो ये वाला कॉलेज, वो वाला कॉलेज, 1 मार्क्स से ना बंदे ने अपने आप को बहुत कुछ कर लिया. तो वो है ना, I think, but eventually there is the big learning for me was there was very little correlation to what is happening in inside the college to the success that we have seen post-which in the real world, right? So I think so that was the journey for MBA, and then we were very excited with retail as an opportunity. I don't know how many people know, but that was the starting point of organized retail, where Future Group had actually kind of was one of the largest, most revered companies. Shoppers Stop was one of the most revered companies to actually get into understand retail, supply chain management, retail, consumer behavior and all that. So I got placed into Future Group as management trainee there, first company to come in.
So why didn't you start a company again immediately after Chetana? Because you were sure, right, that you all wanted to learn business. You never wanted to go into it to get a job.
Yeah. So I think the idea was that we'll still spend. So we understood certain aspects of how to build a business, but going into a company and understanding the nuances of it and then starting is how we started thinking about it. In MBA specifically, before I come to Future Group, is we changed almost every professor we had for a simple reason that the thing that the earlier professor was teaching had very little relevance to what we were doing with Shoppers Stop, for example, in outside real world, right? Very little relevance to what Rediff was doing at that time in the internet space. He said and we being engineers, we couldn't understand a lot of marketing stuff, right? Which looks very abstract. So then we actually changed the professor who actually taught us consumer behavior in maths. And it was eye-opening because uh, everything is a science, right? And a lot of people think that marketing is an art, blah, and all that, but it is a discipline. It is very, what do I say? It's quite scientifically driven as a whole thing. So the idea was that you can make the best use of your college based on how you look at the change.
And future group mein you wanted to go because you felt you still needed to learn a few things.
Yes.
And did your co-founder also get into future group के वहाँ पे थोड़ा सा separation हुआ?
वहाँ पे there was a separation. He joined another company, but future group was again amazing journey. I was actually, after like 3 months of being in Bandra, and after the whole college thing, right? In Bandra, I was in Nasik managing Big Bazaar there. So it was another, so as part of the management trainee program, you're actually thrown into like different businesses of the group, and then you go there. And amazing journey to really manage.
So you were a store manager at
store manager as at Big Bazaar, right? So it was the first Big Bazaar in Nasik ever. So amazing learning there, because you're seeing consumer behavior change. You were seeing so many things: how to negotiate with vendors, how to actually get your sales done, how to actually manage the team, keep them excited. People at that point of time were not used to actually working on Sundays, right? Because retail boom was just beginning, and Nasik is like not only organized retail outlet there. So that was another amazing journey for 2 years. Then the idea was figured out कि यार retail तो नहीं हो पाएगा अपने से, because it needs like insane amount of money. All wrong. So these are not like, you guys should not look at this journey saying that I took all the right decisions, but it is actually a lot of decisions which led to something. So the story has to be looked at from that perspective before you guys draw any conclusions.
Like you felt like real estate would have been a big investment, and
Correct.
Retail ka distribution figure out करने में would have been a big. So you thought कि नहीं कर सकते.
Like it is going to be super tough. And post that, I went to consulting so that we could actually see multiple verticals, right? So to say. So the larger point has been that, can I continue to explore till I find my, core? I think it shapes the person very, very different when you are in exploration mode and you keep on kind of, and if you look at it outside in, my friends, their families used to look at us कि something is wrong with this guy, right? Because we are continuously changing. And so went to Nielsen Consulting.
So that's a market research firm, right?
That's a market research firm. But we would consult to, like on a qualitative side, consumer behavior, consumer research, multiple industries. And that's where I think the big, moment happened for me, which is where I worked for Google on a project. So Google at that point of time was trying to figure out where the next set of 100 million internet users will come from. And they had given the project, I was leading that. Phenomenal learning there, that what is internet, how do you actually kind of drive efficiencies, like amazing journey. And that's where, the whole thing came in, that this is something that can really change the world. There is a huge opportunity. This is where we can actually kind of, without like crazy amounts of money that you would need in an offline business, you could actually do something, start off. And from there, I actually got into InMobi. So I don't know how many people know InMobi is India's first unicorn. I was the first guy there after the founders. So like literally, working out of an apartment kind of thing. And these guys had flown from Harvard, like Naveen is from Harvard, and all the other founders were from IIT Kanpur. And the whole thing actually happened that they were looking for someone to come in and join the team. And they found the approach that I had, and the whole thing actually I had very good. And like that's where the journey for me in the startup ecosystem.
So you moved to Bangalore.
No, it was in Bombay.
काम क्या था? What was the business model back then? Because InMobi has also gone through multiple iterations. So what were the first few things that you were doing?
So no, I think the first product that I was handling the product there. The first product that we built was actually called mKhoj, which was not InMobi, right? Like, which was actually saying that we were a deal search engine on SMS. So you could actually say that I want deals on shoes in Ville Parle. And because at that point of time, mobile internet was not that big, right? So we said that SMS is start getting, and then we actually kind of will give you deals in Ville Parle in these shops. And that was the system, that was the product that we had built. And I was the only product guy at that time.
मतलब ये सब terms तो थी भी नहीं ना, product management and all of that. Nobody even knew about it.
Naveen knew because he came from
Harvard.
So the idea was that, there was this concept in the mind of the founders. The idea was that with, how do I actually put it make a system out of it with the help of the tech founder, which is Mohit. And we together used to work out and figure out and then we had outsourced our engineering also. At that point of time, there was no, easy way to actually hire and all that, but we actually outsourced. So the idea was that the use case was, how do we actually give you deals on SMS? That was the first product that we launched.
And so what happened next after that? How long did you spend in InMobi, and what are the other exciting things that you did there?
So our first product in 3 months bombed. Like we were like completely, we were all, when I say bombed, it's like huge flop, huge, and it was huge. Like flop का भी एक definition को.
नहीं, but how do you define flop? ये मेरे को जानना है. It was a huge flop. मतलब क्या? एक भी customer नहीं आया, 5 customers नहीं आए, 50 भी नहीं आए.
नहीं, I'll tell you. So what happened was, we said क्या, everybody searches for deal, यार deal सबको पता हो. So the key thing was that everybody will come and definitely search for, it's very tough to find deals. But the counter insight that we got was everybody in their locality knew who gives what kind of deals, right? That was first. And second one was the searching of deal in itself is like exciting for people. So it was counter to our hypothesis that people will intently look for it. And then what we did was we actually were so convinced that this is such an amazing product that we did there is an in-orbit mall, right? We did a huge campaign out there. So people were coming and we ourselves were wearing mobile suits to actually kind of excite people and all that. And we spent like almost half the money in the bank into that huge campaign. And then we saw that no searches are coming on the product at all, right? And that was, I think, that's another, close to death scenario, a near death scenario that we could actually really, really see. In 3-4 months, we actually pivoted to an ad network business to say that, okay, and there were, again, insights on top of it, right? What do we do now? Our core business is actually kind of screwed, right, in that sense.
So how did you discover that ये एक opportunity है? The ad network business is something we should get into.
So the whole thing was that when we had started the first product of SMS search engine, the next one was to actually can it be converted into a ad network business. So that was supposed to be like a, say, 3-year hence journey, but we had to actually kind of, and then the other insight was there was a competitor which got acquired by Google AdMob, which was doing 300 million ad impressions a month from India. So we looked at the report and we saw that there is already this thing. So what we are looking at in the future is actually happening right now in front of us, right? So I think it was amazing that the pivot was so fast executed and decided. I think if there is a better example, I've not seen a better example of very powerful decision making for changing the course of the company in a short span and having the confidence to pull it through, right? And because we were so charged, we were able to launch the whole ad network product in like close to 4 months. Right from the whole platform, the ad matching, engine, the whole how the advertisers will come, how the things will happen. But we were actually nearing death there because we had run out of money, and so Naveen again came back. I remember Abhay came back and took us down for tea. There was a tapri out there, and said, "Ki yaar, we will not be able to give you salaries for the next 3 months." And I think we were so into it, we were fine with it. So they were shocked that we are fine with it, and we were not as shocked as कि यार salary नहीं आएगी. And fast forward 2 months, Abhay came back again कि do you guys have credit card? I was like, hey, and we'll need your credit cards as well for 1 month. So the whole thing was salary बंद कर दी, credit card पे सब कुछ चल सकता है, and you want credit card also to. So, but I think because we were so invested, right, in building something big, in building belief, and the conviction was so high in that team at that point in time, that at this point of time when we're discussing, it is laughable and it is crazy, right? But at that point of time, it seemed like, ठीक है यार, we are into it, so we are into it. We had just raised a small round from Mumbai Angels at that time, and we had almost run out. But I think the team was confident that we'll figure out money, the funding aspect of it. So the larger point is that it's always hunky dory, and there is a lot of glamour attached to startups. There is, and for the right reasons also sometimes. But but we all should be very clear that it's a very, very tough journey. You have to actually figure out a way to be, it's like a sine wave, right? So there are ups and there are downs. Your belief and your, in the idea of changing the world is the only thing that will take you through the bad phases, right? Because it was easier for everyone to go back, right? Once the product is, failed, you can actually go back and say, "Bas, theek hai, let's go back to our corporate world," and all that. But after that, after 6 months, we raised one of the largest Series A rounds. Was super, like the whole down phase actually was completely turned around in like 7 to 9 months, right? And some of the best investors in the world, like people who funded Google, actually funded us. So it was phenomenal. Even Mr. Ram Shriram, who is one of the first board members at Google, was the board member at InMobi as well. So phenomenal journey there till InMobi.
No, super inspiring. So at what moment did you think, however, that this is going to be really big when you were working there? And obviously, eventually then why did you decide to quit as well?
So there is this whole thing of product market fit people talk about. So what happens is a lot of things start to change in terms of metrics. So we could see that from 0 ad impressions a month, we were actually hitting like 1 billion ad impressions a month in I think a straight 12 to 14 months window. And and also there was this whole thing of we are building a category of mobile ad network in India, which is not yet actually kind of grown and all that. But essentially, so 3 years I was there to actually manage the whole product from 0 ad impressions to almost 2 billion ad impressions a month. We were actually doing significant amount of revenues. We were, I think, operational in close to 17 countries. Phenomenal journey at that time. And but the whole idea of actually building our own business was, so Santosh had also joined me at InMobi there. just to be, in fact, he was the person who connected me to Naveen, because he had and that's how I got into InMobi. So it was his reference which got me into InMobi. But essentially, from there, we wanted to actually continue with our whole thing of building something on our own. And it's funny, like, how some statements become like true. So when I had joined, I had actually told Naveen that I'll be here for 3 years, and after that I'll build my business. And it actually happened exactly like that. So sometimes, it just happens. But extremely tough call, because after the whole cycle of 3 years, working like dogs, like crazy, 16, 17 hours every day and all that, and we were doing good, right? And we were the early employees. We were like in very good, very good shape. How do you actually decide to, take the plunge out? So the key aspect for us was, one, the problem that we were actually kind of very crazy about when it comes to finances. We have seen people getting missold big time, and all those things were happening.
So this was when you were at InMobi, you were already started to think about this.
Yes. So that was one part. And the second, big thing for us was that, every year, a decision to actually start on your own, right, will become tougher and tougher. The opportunity cost becomes so large. And the second big thing is that all decisions of starting your own company will always be irrational. Like when you decide, like to the tune that the math is against you, right? Maths is against you. Like only 3 out of 100 startups actually make it to the next stage, which is Series A, Series B, right? Which is like you're starting the whole thing knowing that only 3% chance of success, right? In today's world, probably it is 6-7%, but still you are actually kind of, so it's mathematically or rationally, you will always see that it is the worst. It doesn't make sense, right? In that sense. So for us, 2 things. One was the problem that we were starting to actually grow over. The second one was this, that every year the opportunity cost will keep on getting bigger and bigger. And the third one was that we couldn't live in the split world of, at night we are continuously thinking about this problem that we want to solve for consumers. And on the other side, we have a day job, which is doing completely different stuff. And these are all like, InMobi was growing rapidly. Like there is huge amount of intensity out there, very, very like intense. So we couldn't actually kind of do both the things in our heads. And that's how we decided to actually start Money Sites. And so the very, very tough call. I remember everybody was shocked. And Naveen himself actually spent like 4 hours trying to convince to, not do it. But the only checkmate answer I had was, you had done it at some time to someone or to the company that you were working with. And so I think it was great. He actually ended up investing in our business. So Money Sites, I think, is the same vision that continues today at ET Money as well. Is that if you really look at it, for consumers like you and me, more layman, consumers, our financial journeys are really broken. Right? And when I say that they're broken, is that in this room, even after 5 years, if I ask this question, how confident you feel about your financial life? Is there anyone who will actually confidently say, yes, I am confident about it? Like there is no one. Like I've asked this question on multiple audiences, hundreds of people there. Nobody raises a single hand, right? And it's just the sad truth of it, because it is the truth. Like it's just that nobody is confident because people have not taken the right decisions, not had the right guidance, or the whole ecosystem is actually driven against you. Like our one core belief is that the whole whole ecosystem is against you as a consumer, right? So people are either selling you commission-based products, and when there is commission baked into the products,
the
incentives are not aligned, right? So that person is not, whoever is selling you commission-based product will always sell you products which have higher commissions, right? And that's the biggest source of mistrust.
You must be thinking another pre-roll? Wait, let me just skip it. With All Theory, there are some boring things which you can avoid, like the long wait for promotions or increments, or the numerous interviews before you land your dream job. At All Theory, we make sure that you're future ready and skilled to be in the top 0.5% class. Click on the link in the description now.